Hi there everyone, Scapegoat Stephen back with another video battle report. So this was from our casual weekly game night from our local club Fanitball. We play at the Digi Diner in Margate every Wednesday. Great space. The hosts are really accommodating. It's also, they do a lot of board games, they do a lot of computer games. They've actually got a basement full of sort of computer games, booths you can hire, consoles you can play, including things like the N64, the Switch, PS4, all that sort of thing. They've got loads of different things available, and they're currently getting put in a space where you can play multiplayer games, like a LAN system. Looks really promising, really liking the space. If you're in the Kent area, go along, check them out. Heartily recommend them. So the game that I played on the evening was Esther's Brewers versus Windfinder Navigators. Obviously not really having a choice there on the captain, so we'll get into the video now. So going down the Brewers line, we've got Mash, Esther's, Spigot, Hooper, Vet Decimate who's got the ball, and Quaff. So that's going from top to bottom. The Brewers on the left hand side, me playing the Navigators on the right hand side. So going down the Navigators, we've got Fathom, Azimuth, Wonder, Windfinder, Ebb and Angel. I'm not a huge fan of Horizon. I don't think I've ever made that a massive secret. You know, I usually swap him out for Angel if I'm honest. There's a couple of reasons for that. I might go into a future video, just sort of giving my reasonings for that. So Decimate kicks, ends up re-rolling the scatter, still goes reasonably close, or sort of far away from where Decimate was probably going to want to go for the ball. So influence allocation is out. I'm going to activate Fathom. Fathom is going to sprint. Just sort of deliberating where to sprint her to with the final sort of couple of inches. She eventually goes there in the cover. She will do a pass to Azimuth. Nice and simple. And then I'm going to bank the momentum. Then I'm looking at actually how far can Decimate get. Do I want to dodge forward with Azimuth and make a decision not to? So Spigot then activates Times Called for free and goes for a bit of a sprint upwards. Angel then jogs round that barrier down the bottom of the screen into cover. Quaff sprints and uses Pick Me Up on Decimate. Wonder then activates next, does a jog and decides to use his character play to make Ebb dodge 4 inches towards him. Esther's jogs and Quicksfoot Decimate and tools her up, so actually she's going to be quite fast and quite dangerous right now. So I then activate Windfinder, and I want to mitigate this a little bit. I end up wasting some of my influence, but in the end, I actually decide to go with Windfinder and put full speed ahead on Azimuth, because that gives Azimuth a pretty respectable charge range, especially when it's free. And then I'm going to jog and just I Spy Decimate. So obviously I'm wasting 2 influence there, which is not ideal, but given the current situation on the board, I decide actually I don't really want Decimate coming in on Decimate's terms. I'd rather come in on my terms against her. So obviously the I Spy also knocks Decimate down. Decimate will then choose to pull the trigger and activate. So Decimate will spend a point of momentum to clear conditions. She will then jog to Windfinder, so she's got an increased jog speed at the moment because of Times Called, and she's got that 2-inch melee. So she'll start buying attacks. She'll choose a Momentous Stagger to start with. Then a Momentous Double Push, which actually pushes me close enough to then have a viable counter-attack. So I'll force Decimate's hand here by declaring a counter. So Decimate does a Momentous Knockdown. Otherwise, potentially, I could get out a dodge. And then does another Momentous Double Push for the final bit of move on Windfinder. So I decide to activate Azimuth next. So currently I want to get Windfinder way out the way of Hooper, because Hooper coming in will just wreck her. So Azimuth charges Decimate. She chooses defensive stance and counter attack. So I choose a Momentous Netted and a dodge. With a Raptor the 1, which has 1 point of damage, but Decimate has Tough Hide, so it will negate that. But the Netted obviously negates the counter attack back. I then make some subsequent more attacks. I choose a Momentous 3 damage on my next attack, which becomes 2. I choose to stand up Windfinder, do another Momentous 3, which becomes 2, pass the ball to Windfinder, and actually dodge Windfinder back, because again I need to get her out of the potential threat range of Hooper, because I don't want to be there. That was intended, obviously, to invalidate Hooper a little bit. Mash goes for a sprint. Ebb then jogs to Decimate and just makes an attack. Whilst Decimate's there, might as well. And he ends up wrapping, because obviously we've got I Spy. She's a 2-1 with that knockdown, and we've got Azimuth. So I choose a Momentous 2, which goes down to 1, and then a character play Sprung a Leak. So it does 1 damage to Decimate, again because of Tough Hide, and 2 on Quaff. Just a little bit of damage on Quaff. Doesn't make a huge amount of difference at the end of the turn, and then Hooper sprints forward. So at the start of the turn, Hooper ends up with the +1 attack game plan card, and I end up with Seize the Initiative. So I'm going to take initiative this turn. I'm going to dodge Windfinder back into that melee, and then Barry, my opponent, makes the right call and dodges Quaff then in to block me going through that gap for a goal. So it's going to be quite a lengthy activation with Windfinder now. Probably actually showing an example of what Windfinder can do in the right circumstances. So we'll go through this. Should buy an attack on Decimate. Now remember, Decimate is a 2-1 currently, and I've got 2 gang ups which negate the 2 crowd outs. So off that attack, I actually choose to I Spy Hooper to knock him down, and then get him out of the way. I then buy another attack, a Momentous Tackle Double Dodge. Obviously I can't tackle, but I've got the double dodge, so I move around a little bit. I then Legendary and actually catch 5 players, so I can move everyone except Angel. So Azimuth dodges forward to engage Quaff. Ebb backs up to come in later for a charge. Fathom retreats sort of across the cover that she's next to, sorry, the obstacle. Wanda will also retreat down towards that barrier, and Windfinder goes round to engage Quaff. Attacks Decimate though, because I'm still in melee with Decimate. I'll get a Momentous Dodge. I'll then attack Quaff for another Momentous Dodge, and then I will attack Quaff again for another Momentous Dodge. So I could have got into shooting range, but I've still got my movement left this turn, so actually I get out of melee with the dog and just go for a jog. So I jog 6 to get into tapping range. I take the shot because I'm in tapping range. I don't bonus time it. So I get 1-6 and I actually re-roll another die to score the Screamer to get me 2 momentum. So that is currently 0-4 to Navigators. I've generated a ton of momentum and got myself obviously a goal influence for next turn. So the ball is kicked out and snaps to Mash, I believe. And then, sorry, pardon me, Decimate will clear conditions. So Decimate gets back up off the floor and attacks Azimuth. I declare poised, because it gives me defense 5, and Decimate actually misses everything. So I, with my counter-attack, disarm Decimate, so that -2 attack is really important. So Decimate will attack Azimuth again and Momentous double push me. Then we'll attack Azimuth again, do a 1 damage push, which I believe is Momentous. Then she'll do a non-Momentous 2 and a 1-inch push. So done a little bit of damage to Azimuth, not a huge amount given he's got a health pool of 18, but obviously Brewers can swing that damage quite wildly. So I actually go then decide to attack Azimuth, and Azimuth will attack Hooper, and he'll get a Momentous netted off and he puts it on Quaff. He'll attack Hooper again. Again, Hooper, because Hooper's knocked down, Hooper is a 2-1 defensive stat line, and I've got I Spy on Hooper, so I again go for the attacks there to generate me some momentum. So momentum netted Decimates, and Decimate gets down, and then I finally choose to momentously disarm Hooper, because then it drops Hooper's tack again by 2. And then at the end I go for a dodge, and I keep myself engaged with Hooper just because I don't want Hooper to be able to charge out of melee or anything like that. So Estes will activate. She tools up Hooper and Heroics to stand those 3 models back up. I probably should have remembered that she can do that. So then I'm looking at, you know what, Mash has got the ball and there's no one that can intervene with Ebb there. So actually Ebb's going to charge Mash. Barry at this point has no momentum, so there's going to be no counter-attack available, which is part of the reason I did it as well. So I trigger Resilience on the attack. So I buy an attack and tackle. I then buy a final attack and I don't buy an attack, sorry, I pass to Fathom. Now unfortunately, because I'm engaged, I roll less dice for the kick and I roll quite badly, even with my re-rolls. So luckily, due to the scatter, Fathom then ends up intercepting the ball. What I really wanted to do was dodge Fathom 4 inches backwards, or away from being able to be attacked. But because of where she's ended up, Spigot is able to sprint and decides to declare an attack on her. I declare a counter. So I'm defence 5 in cover, which is pretty good. So he chooses a non-momentous ball gone. I counter-attack and tackle the ball back. He then attacks and tackles the ball back off me. And then his final attack, he chooses a momentous knockdown. So it was a lot of trading the ball there to and fro. Fathom's defensive stat line being a 5 and then being in cover, really good in my opinion. And obviously he wanted control of the ball. So Fathom activates and stands up. Done. Hooper Heroics for free, because near Esther's. Gives himself the +2 tack, which then counters the disarm that's on him. And Azimuth does declare a counter attack, but when Hooper hits him, he pushes him out of melee. So, no, that's a lie, sorry. He attacks me, does a momentous push, doesn't push me out of melee, so I do a netted on my counter attack. Hooper has now got so many tokens on him, it is ridiculous. He does end up just clearing conditions with some momentum to stand up, and he charges Fathom. So I defensive stance because I don't think there's much point in counter attacking here. I'm not going to get much off. I'm going to be rolling like 2 dice on the counter. So he actually only manages a non-momentous 1 on Fathom, which is pretty good for me anyway. So Angel goes for a jog. Quaff goes for a jog. Wanda, not to be the odd one out, also goes for a jog. And finally, Mash, with the last activation of the turn, he goes for a bit of a jog and attacks Ebb and pushes him. Again, generates a bit of momentum and just gets Ebb in, keeps Ebb in his melee, but out of Ebb's melee. So turn 3, the Brewers play Dig Deep, and the Navigators play Sell It to the Crowd. So again, I have initiative. At this stage, I'm looking at, Decimate, I can get some crowd outs, gang ups. I'm wondering, can I actually take her out this turn, or do I want to drop her down to like that 1 health and put her on the precipice of being able to then take out the top of the next turn? So I decide to use full speed ahead on Windfinder because it gives me a free charge and counteracts that rough ground that I'm going to be charging over. So Decimate declares no response because she knows I'm going to Eye Spy her to the floor. I do get, in fact, Eye Spy, and I will admit I rolled 1 extra die there because I forgot that Estes was crowding me out, but it wrapped to the 1 and would have done nothing anyway. So I do a momentous 2 to Decimate, goes down to 1 because of Tough Hide. A momentous tackle double dodge to get myself out of the melee of Estes. I then buy another attack and I do a momentous dodge on the wrap. Again, this is about the momentum generation, not necessarily the movement. A momentous 2, which goes down to 1. And then a final attack, which is a momentous dodge on the wrap again, and a momentous 2 down to 1. I actually dodge myself back into melee with Estes, just because I want to engage as many of his team as possible. So Decimate stands up and makes an attack on Windfinder. So she does a 1 damage push, followed by 1 damage push, and then just misses. So, not great in Decimate's defence there. But I think Barry was unfortunate with some of his dice rolling in this game. It just seemed to not go according to plan, really. So I jog Wanda just to get Wanda into engagement range with Decimate. Esther's even not Hooper, goes for a sprint, but she does tool up Hooper at the end. So I activate Fathom. Now Fathom uses her heroic play that when she's in near a piece of scenery, she gets a 4-inch dodge. So she dodges 4 inches around Spigot. She stays out of his 1 inch but in 2-inch melee, and then buys an attack and tackles him. She then makes a jog and kicks to space because I can't quite get the kick to Angel. However, I get an amazing scatter and it lands on top of Angel. So Angel takes that ball and then I will link to Angel, which is one of the rules they have. Angel then activates Super Shot on herself, jogs to within 4 inches of the goal to set up for next turn, but shoots on the goal. No bonus time, but scores it. So we're now 0-8 to the Navigators. Goal kick comes out, again goes up towards Mash. Bit of a bad scatter, but Mash is out of melee with, or he's in melee with Ebb, but Ebb isn't in melee with him. Ebb isn't engaging him, so Mash goes for a sprint and just runs away, snaps the ball on the way, and decides, you know what, Fathom's there, let's have a go. Again, rolls a little bit poorly there with her defense 5, just as the 1 damage, but then does his heroic for free, again because he's near Esther's, and passes the ball to Spigot. So I activate Azimuth and go, you know what, Vet Decimate, she needs to be on 1 health this turn. So I attack Vet Decimate, do a Momentous 3 down to 2. My second attack does a Momentous 3 down to 2. And my final attack is a Momentous Netted Dodge on Decimate. So again, she's on 1 HP, she's knocked down, she's right there for the taking at the top of the next turn. I think this is one of those key important things in Guild Ball, is knowing when to actually kill the thing you're attacking and when to leave it ready for ripe for the picking for the following turn. So Barry will activate Spigot, and he's going to jog to Fathom and just sort of try and buy some attacks. So his first attack is a Momentous Knockdown, second attack is Momentous 3, his third attack is a non-Momentous 2, and his fourth attack is a Momentous 3. So obviously he's beating on her a lot just to try and get her health down. Again, he's knocked her down. You just reduce her usefulness for the next turn. He then heals Decimate for 4, so she's back up to 5 health. Ebb, with his lovely 7-inch jog, then engages Decimate, again just to get me some more crowd outs for next turn. Hooper will then activate, and actually because I used that link activation, Barry now actually has both Hooper and Quaff left of his turn, so he's going to start with Hooper, and he's going to jog round Esther's to there. And now Ebb can only take 2 damage at a time because he's got a special rule that means he can only ever take 2 damage at a time. It doesn't stop your opponent generating loads of momentum, he can just only do 2 damage. So Hooper does True Grit himself for free for that +2 tack, and then his first swing he does a Momentous 5, which becomes 2, and obviously because of Tooled Up adding in there. He then does a non-Momentous 2, because he rolled really unfortunately poorly, and then another Momentous 5 down to 2. And then finally Quaff will go for a little bit of a jog for the end of the turn. So turn 4, the Brewers play Grudge Match, and they put their token on. They also win initiative actually, so they put their token on Ebb. I put mine on Decimate. So the Brewers actually won this 13-10 on the influence. I played a card that means if he takes one of my players out, I can transfer the influence that's on them to another model within 8. So my thought here was I put it on Fathom. Worst comes to it, he kills Fathom, I transfer it to Ebb. But I didn't need to worry about that in the end, so we'll see how this turn plays out. Now, unfortunately for me, like I said, I lost the initiative, which made this turn very dicey for me personally. I was worried about what would happen. So Esther's attacks Ebb, does a Momentous 2. She then does her heroic to stand Decimate up. Buys another attack, does a Momentous 3, which goes down to 2 because of Ebb's rules. Does a Momentous Push, then a Momentous 2 to take out Ebb, which puts the score at 2-8 in the Navigator's favour. She then heals Decimate for 4, tools up Hooper, and then jogs. So I activate Fathom. I've got the 1 point of momentum for starting the turn, for going second. I clear my conditions. I acrobatic 2 inches and buy an attack on Spigot to get a Momentous Dodge. I then buy an attack and tackle and jog. Then I will pass to Angel, and I will linked activation Angel. So I've got my 1 momentum I need, 2 momentum now the success on the pass. Angel super shots herself, jogs right in front of the goal, tap in, bonus time, 2-12, Navigators win.